Don't stop it. I was just being truthful. You can't handle the truth. All right, all right. Everybody can hear me out there on the interwebs? I guess not.
I can hear you.
All right, there we go.
I can, Maury.
Toda. Just, just checking. All right, so start with the rules. Raise your hand to ask a question. Please wait to be called on before you answer. Because there are hands raised in the room as well as online, please keep your question or comment on track with today's lesson. You will have 60 seconds to answer the question or to make your statement. If you go past 60 seconds, Caleb will mute you. Remember, it's not personal, it's just to give enough time to finish the lesson. The lessons are recorded and must be kept within a certain amount of time. And the lesson is mixed with discussion to help build one another up. Please no one person abuse the time. So those that are in the room, please use the microphone to speak so everyone on the internet can hear you. You also will have 60 seconds to answer or ask a question. All comments, commentaries, sidebars, etc., will be limited to 20 seconds. We're going to change that and limit some people to like 2, but we'll get there eventually. All right. So again, the disclaimer: take the time to explain that this lesson and the lessons thereafter are not based on any one individual, whether in this assembly locally or abroad. The lessons were not developed by myself alone. Yes, Yahuwah has something, if not all, to do with them. If the lessons hit certain points that you feel or believe have something to do with you, then all praise to Yahuwah. Take that knowledge and apply the solution to your life. Do not take anything personal to the point that you miss the message that's being given in order to help solidify your salvation. But remember, like Maury Lamont's slides say, if the shoe fits, please do wear it. All right, remember we had the 4 points this month. I don't stress out, poke my chest out, weight on the shoulders brings the best out. Get it right or you'll get left out. As a recap, I feel like you could say it. Turn me down a little bit. I understand. I apologize for my commentary earlier. All right. So being stressed out and having issues with confidence negatively impacts a man's ability to perform his basic functions, which we said ultimately wrapped up to being able to provide, to guard, and to lead. Healthy confidence is required to perform and make wise decisions. We can't be afraid or lack confidence to do what's right, even when what's right is not what's popular. Healthy confidence comes from placing our confidence in Yahuwah. Unhealthy confidence, often referred to as pride or arrogance, comes from getting confident in our ability. Yeah. It's a good thing I'm confident, and I'm not going to let them bother me. Like we have all the answers and have succeeded without Yahuwah. Mind you, this slide been up here for like 4 weeks now. Now they want to say so. That's all right. It's totally a cut and paste, but it's all right. So a healthy sense of confidence will reduce the stress from the outside world. It will give us the confidence to make difficult or unpopular decisions. It helps us maintain our composure when others test us verbally. And it makes us more effective leaders because people are more likely to follow a confident leader. Remember, we talked about the importance of character over opinion. You want to develop your character so that others' opinions will not outweigh your desire to maintain your character in stressful situations. We talked about some takeaways for the sisters. Remember that we want to be your Ish's peace. When he comes home, give him a few minutes so he can unwind. You want to offer him words of encouragement, let him know how happy you are to see him. And a man who's actually the one that you desire, he wants you to have a stress-free life. So you want to give him time to decompress from the outside stresses so that he'll be able to confidently and competently handle the stressors on the home front. Those of the sisters that are not married, you want to be mindful of the man that you are desiring and consider, do they have proper stress management skills? Are they of solid character? A reminder that what they have to offer internally is more importantly what they have to offer externally. And then this was a question for all the sisters, that whether they want to be led by a man that lacks confidence. Is it truly beneficial for them to have a man that they can control or who will never tell them no? And everyone said nobody wants a man like that. Nobody wants a brother like that. All right, and then last week we talked about 2 particular theories, one being time under tension and the other being struggle time. If not, I'm gonna give you a pass. All right, so we talked about time under tension, that in order for muscles to grow, they must be brought to a certain level of stress to the point that they actually tear. You want to exercise to failure so that when they repair, that you will actually gain strength. If you don't bring them to that point, you will not have as effective of a workout. Then we talked about struggle time. We used the example of the 2 students from America and the set students from Japan, and that American students only actively struggled 2% of the time, which explained why they did not perform as well as Japanese, because when you're in that time, you have to struggle and figure things out on your own. That's when the actual learning takes place. All right, don't stress out, poke my chest out, weight on my shoulders brings the best out. Today is the last line. Get it right or you'll get left out. All right, getting left out. So we talked about a few things that impact a man's ability to form a righteous character, to not just be a believer, but to be a functional and useful man for Yah. So this is the pretest. So if we don't improve in these areas, improve to be useful or functional as leaders, protectors, providers, etc., what are we in danger of being left out of? That's an open question. And remember, there are no wrong answers. So if we don't get it right, then we get left out. What are we left out? What are we being left out from? We have a hand in the back.
You could be left without a family, and you also be left out of the kingdom.
Left without a family, left out of the kingdom. That's it. Anybody got anything different online? All right, today's lesson should go pretty well. You got your mic in the hand? Nope, too late. You picked up the mic, you got to say something. You picked it up and started to turn it on. Like I didn't see that.
Pause. So we don't prove in these areas to prove to be useful, functional as leaders, then we most likely won't have a job. Protectors won't be able to protect nobody. Everybody just be hurting around us. And providers, we ain't gonna have no type of money.
All right, I can sit down now. We all got it. Perfect. All right, so today should go nice and smooth. Perfect. All right, so man was created for a purpose, right? And we discussed what those things were previously. So today we'll kind of take a quick look at what happens to things that don't fulfill that purpose, right? They don't function properly. All right, Joel 2:21-23. It says, fear not, O land, be glad and rejoice, for Yahuwah has done great things. Fear not, you beasts of the field, for the pastures of the wilderness are green. The tree bears its fruit. The fig tree and vine give their full yield. Be glad, O children of Zion, and rejoice in Yahuwah your Elohim, for he has given the early rain for your vindication. He has poured down for you abundant rain, the early and the latter rain as before. Micah 4:1 and then 3-5. It shall come to pass in the latter days that the mountain of the house of Yahuwah shall be established as the highest of the mountains, and it shall be lifted up above the hills, and the people shall flow to it. Verse 3. He shall judge between many peoples. It shall decide disputes for strong nations far away, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. But they shall sit every man under his vine and under his fig tree. And no one shall make them afraid, for the mouth of Yahuwah of hosts has spoken. For all the peoples walk in the name of its mighty one, but we will walk in the name of Yahuwah our Elohim forever and ever. All right, so we saw a couple mentions of a fig tree, right? So generally speaking, fig trees tend to be associated with things that are tov, right? Things that will provide a good function. We just saw the last verse. It was, they were under the fig tree in a pleasant state of mind. They were in shalom, right? That's kind of like how a functional, useful man should provide you a level of shalom, right? Everybody see the correlation there? Let's look at Matthew 21:19-21, however. Seeing a fig tree by the wayside, he went to it and found nothing on it but only leaves. And he said to it, may no fruit ever come from you again. And the fig tree withered at once. And when the taught ones saw it, they marveled, saying, how did the fig tree wither at once? And Yahushua answered them, truly I say to you, if you believe and do not doubt, you will not only do what has been done to the fig tree, but even if you say this mountain, be taken up and thrown into the sea, it will happen. All right. What was that tree supposed to produce? Fruit, right? How would you know it's a fig tree?
Botany?
Not a trick question. Say it again.
Botany, maybe?
By the fruit, right? So,
leaves.
You know by its fruit, right? So if we're not producing fruit, are we functional, right? If we're not producing good fruit, are we truly functional, right? Not complicated, right? All right. So when Yahusha wanted to use the tree, it was not available to him. So not only did the tree not yield fruit when its master wanted to, it was brought to a point that it could no longer be used for fruit ever again. And then also notice the reference to belief. So when we don't operate in our righteous character, it displays our lack of belief. And it also puts our lack of belief on display for all to see. So people have been used to passing this tree, right? In its season, it was known to be a fruit tree, right? So it might kind of stand out when it's no longer bearing fruit, right? So if we're not doing what we're supposed to do, not only will we not be able to provide those proper functions as we're supposed to do, it's usually something that we can't hide from. We can't cover it up. It's going to be for everybody to see. So you're a man, you have a family, you've gotten them accustomed to a certain lifestyle, right? When that lifestyle starts to wane, deteriorate, because it's based on something that you did or didn't do, is it just going to affect your family? Probably not, right? Because every person in that family is attached to somebody else, who's attached to somebody else, who is attached to somebody else. And if we're righteous, all of that is actually representing Yahuwah. So every person that has to be in a different state it's going to impact other people. So it's not just some singular fig tree that didn't do what it's supposed to do. It's going to have an impact on all those that are around it. All right. So, and again, he talks about belief. Our lack of belief is what causes us not to be able to perform those functions. So I don't think it's a coincidence that the fig tree also was not only about fruit, but also about belief, because we need belief in order to bear the proper fruit. So how many of us have ever been told to move and we didn't because it just wasn't the right time, in our humble opinions? Thank Toda. I got some half hands up. I got like one honest person. It's all right. I appreciate y'all for lying to me week after week after week. It's all right. It's okay. But yeah, all of us have been there, right? And we'll see in a later verse why we're mentioning the timing when it comes to this fig tree. All right, let's look at Matthew 7:15-23. Like I said, you guys know all this already. We're just bringing it out and wrapping up all the other weeks, right? So beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. You will recognize them by their fruits. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? So every healthy tree bears good fruit, but the diseased tree bears bad fruit. A healthy tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a diseased tree bear good fruit. 19. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus you will recognize them by their fruits. Also, 21. Not everyone who says to me, Master, Master, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. On that day, many will say to me, Master, Master, did we not prophesy in your name and cast out demons in your name and do many mighty works in your name? And I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of lawlessness. So if we don't step up and into our proper character, we are in danger of being left out on the day of judgment, which we said going in, right? We will be told to depart. Exit stage left. It's not enough to just simply say, I'm a believer, like we did that first exercise, right? When I asked a lot of people to describe who they were, and everyone said, I'm a believer, I'm a believer. Well, didn't I prophesy? Didn't I cast out demons? Didn't I do mighty works? I called your name, right? Does that truly make you a believer? Even the demons say they believe, right? So simply being a believer isn't good enough. You have to actually act like it. Right? That's what this month's been all about. So if you're not displaying that proper character, you will be left out of the kingdom. He's going to tell you to depart. So we have to act out that belief in righteousness. We have to endure the stress that we mentioned last week. We have to be accountable. We have to be able to do what's right, even when it's not popular. We have to show the fruit of our belief, or else you will be left out of the kingdom. All right. So we talked about being left out of the kingdom really briefly, right? Some other ways that we can be left out. 1 Corinthians 15:33, it simply says, do not be deceived. Bad company ruins good morals. Psalms 1:1-5. Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers. But his delight is in the law of Yahuwah, and on his law he meditates day and night. He is like a tree planted by streams of water that yields its fruits in its season, and his leaf does not wither. In all that he does, he prospers. But the wicked are not so, but are like chaff that the wind drives away. Therefore, the wicked will not stand in judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. Caleb, if I asked you to summarize that passage, what would you say?
Yeah, I see it, Aki. Okay.
I don't do trick questions. I wouldn't have called on you if I didn't think you could answer the question.
I know. So, in short, well, first I would say, happy is the man that walks. Not really. That's
Huh? What?
Yeah. I'm just reading what's highlighted there.
Okay.
So all it basically means, how I would summarize it is, basically, if you do not listen to wicked people and you don't actually, hang around them too much and you don't let them influence you, you're going to be happier as a believer. That's the summary, quick summary.
Okay. I could go with that. Anybody object? Okay. Got nothing against that. Let's look at Jude 1:17-21. But you must remember, beloved, the predictions of the apostles of our master Yahushua. They said to you, in the last time there will be scoffers following their own unrighteous passions. It is with these who cause divisions, worldly people, devoid of the Ruach. But you, beloved, building yourselves up in your most set-apart belief and praying in the Ruach HaKodesh, keep yourselves in the love of Elohim, waiting for the mercy of our master Yahushua that leads to eternal life. Sharat Yehuka said, summarize that one for me, please.
The first part or the whole thing?
The whole thing.
The whole thing. All right. Okay. Let me see. Make sure that you do not follow their own unrighteousness and passions, but you keep yourself in the love of Elohim. That's it.
Just put in your own words. Just put in your own words.
I summarized it. In your own words, man. Oh,
You highlighted, bro. Like you didn't summarize. Summarize means your words.
okay. New words. Let's see. Do your best not to listen and to follow the deeds of unrighteous people, but make sure that you keep yourself grounded in the ways and the love of Yahuwah.
Okay. Now you just translated it, but it's okay.
You said on words.
You
you
just
said on words.
You just took each
said
line
on
and
words.
just reset it.
It was a targum.
This man says a targum. Make sure that you separate yourselves from these people so you don't be influenced by the same thing.
So again, you were not wrong. I just wanted to say you could have said it the same way Kanan said it, like because everybody, just keep it simple. Keep it simple. Make sure we're all getting something out of this, right? All right. So, Yehuka said, real simple answer for the very first question. Are the righteous supposed to be hanging out with the unrighteous?
No. N-O. L-O.
Perfect. All right, good. So, with that being said, I'm gonna put this in context, right? Because oftentimes we look at that, the righteous and the unrighteous. How many of us righteous are actually unrighteous? We want to pick on the world all the time, right? But if we're honest with ourselves, either in this season or in others, we found ourselves in an unrighteous spot. we weren't being the type of man that we've been talking about the last 3 days. We weren't being the sister that we needed to be, right? So when it talks about not hanging out with the unrighteous, that can include some of us in this room. That can include some of us that are on the internet, right? What's this? Could you get her a mic, please?
Thank you. So this brings up a question I have. So I'm kind of torn. So I have a really good friend who's helped me with some of my transition
Sure.
moving back to Virginia. And long story short, this sister is in Islam and was a big support and respects my truth, our truth. And long story short, I'm like torn, like, how do I break away from the sister who's been so supportive? I'm talking about to the heart. But when I was there recently, it was Allah, 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 excuse me, Father. And it was just blowing me. So can you help me with that? Just, you brought this.
Sure,
up,
absolutely.
so that brought me there. So
No
thank
problem.
you.
No problem. It makes sense. Good line of question. I have several friends that if I was ever in dire straits, they'd be right there for me that are Muslim. Because again, I have to focus on their righteousness, right? There are really similarities. Well, we're not going to agree to salvation at all. But as far as how I treat them and how they treat me, will they lie to me? No. Will they be there for me? Will they keep their word? Yes. So those are the things where we can agree on and be in fellowship with. But I'm not going to go to the mosque. I'm not going to say, hey, pray with me. So, but if it comes prayer time, I'm like, hey, you guys go your way. I'm going this way. I separate myself from them. But if I needed to be around them in certain areas, I'm not going, nah, I'm not going to him. He's going to call me Ak every time he see me, just like you. But I can't fellowship with him over meal and discuss things, discuss righteousness. That's not what I'm saying. Yes.
Prior to coming here, I had a friend that she just wasn't in the walk, but I knew that I had to temper me hanging out, with her. So I didn't hang out with her consistently. I pick and chose the intervals that I would hang out with them, and that kind of had her bleed over to me. And now she's going to church into Christendom. She's not over here, but that's a foundation based on what she was doing. So yeah, I'm sorry.
Now,
You.
but remember, there's some things that you're going to have to leave her out of. She has to go to the left. I'm going to the right. Some things she just can't participate in. Like, I'm not going to you for these things. I have to separate myself from you. But what I want us to be ultra mindful of is that this entire month has been dedicated to brothers in the walk. And I don't want us to be so high-minded and so full of ourselves that we accept things from each other that we wouldn't accept from others. I'm gonna turn the blind eye. He's in the walk, so it's okay if he lies to me. Not doing that, right? Oh, but let a Muslim lie to me. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. Let this person who's not in the belief lie to me. Oh, it's terrible. But you lie to me all the time. Can't do that, right? Yahushan, what you got?
Yeah, you said sometimes there's situations where we encounter other people, and and so just what I try to do too is, like, every time I get that chance, like, I try to throw Yahuwah's word into that person, because I had a situation where, like, you guys know that I obviously broke my back, and I had a counselor that was counseling me, and through that process I realized that she was trying to counsel me in the worldly opinion of things, but every time I go there I was telling her more about Yahuwah. And just the other day she called me and she sat me down and she listened to every single thing I've been saying, and she asked me questions for like 2 hours about my walk. So I was like, wow, man, the girl listened to. So here I was counseling my counselor now, and she's realizing that she's in the wrong position because she's counseling in the world that's wrong, and she's listening to Yahuwah's word. So, you just got to be cautious to put Father's word down every chance that we get.
Correct. All right, go ahead, Aki.
Real quick. So I hope we're understanding that we're not saying that, hey, you should be hanging out with your friends.
Correct.
All right. So the reality is, because what does light have of darkness, right? If Yah's desire is for us to be one, then we need to learn how to be one. And Yah will give us things. Now, will Yah use an unrighteous to help us? Absolutely. But at sometimes we need also to take advantage to be a light to that person that's helping us. So I think that we just need to make sure we have a balance on that.
All right. So let's bring it back into the house, right? Go ahead. Go ahead. Question in the back. Go ahead.
Hello. Okay, so last comment. So this same friend did disrespect me one time, and we had a falling out. And sometimes I feel like that passive aggressive comes in. So that's the part I miss, that I'm torn at, because I'm okay with quieting that situation down, because I still post and do what I do on Facebook. But yeah, so I need that.
Hello, yeah. Toda. All right. So let's put the focus back on the house, right? 'Cause that's who we're looking at. Eyes on ourselves, right? So if we have a brother that's not operating in the righteous character, are we supposed to just look the other way and continue to hang out with him like everything's all good? Yehuka says, say that one word answer in the microphone again.
Leviticus 19.
You can't count the one now. I said one word answer.
Oh, no.
Toda. All right. So now that you answered that right, make the reference that you were going to make that's clearly more than one word. Please do. Oh man, your app on Android time, huh?
All right, Leviticus 19. Starting at let me see, where am I going? Uh-oh. All right, here we go. 16. Actually, I'm gonna start at verse 15. Do no unrighteousness in right ruling. Do not be partial to the poor. Favor the face of the great, but rightly rule your neighbor in righteousness. Do not go slandering among your people. Do not stand against the blood of your neighbor. I am Yahuwah. Do not hate your brother in your heart. Reprove your neighbor for certain, and bear no sin because of him. That's it.
Okay. All right. Let me ask a question. This is for give me about three answers for the Akeem, because we have to hold each other accountable, right? So I can't say that I love you if I let you continue to walk in the wrong path, right? So what are some things that you just cannot tolerate from another brother's character? Go to Key.
They're not honorable with their words.
Absolutely. Man, y'all easy to get along with. That's it. As long as you do that, you're good.
We got something online.
All right, what we got?
Mishael says lying lips and a treacherous tongue.
It's kind of like what he just said. It's the same. It's the same. Go ahead, Key.
Getting too friendly with my wife.
Okay. So you got that one oct that just can't leave the sisters alone.
That's right.
Can't leave them alone, right? That's cool, though, right? Absolutely not, right? We're not gonna tolerate that. What else? Shubiya, what you got?
Someone who thinks they know it all and you can't tell them anything.
Someone who's unteachable. Okay.
Yeah.
Maury Dawood.
A brother that's over competitive.
All right. Travis, what you got?
Arrogance.
Arrogance, okay. Just keep going. We'll keep going.
I don't know if it might have been said earlier, but I would think hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy, okay. What you got?
Somebody that's always complaining.
Okay, all right. All right, we got one more.
A brother who may be jealous of another brother.
Okay. All right. I like all your answers. All you guys pointed out negative things, right? Let's look at the nature of the question. Things that you just cannot tolerate. So you're saying each one that fits your answer, you just don't hang with people like that at all?
I talk to them all the time.
Yeah, if for me personally, if I realize that you have a lack of integrity, yeah, I do distance myself from you.
Lack of integrity, one. That's what you can hold somebody to. All right. So let's be just be mindful again. Let our words be true. All right. Don't be like, oh, well, you know, he kind of gets on my nerves when he does that, but he's still around me all the time to get on my nerves when he does it. No. I'm talking about things you cannot tolerate. Like that person I will not deal with. All right. That's how serious I want us to be as we think about this. All right. So if we know that the brother's lacking in this area, he's character deficient, do we just avoid them and not let them know why we don't want to be around them? Yeah, you reach for the mic. You good? Go ahead.
Okay. So ideally, you would want to have that conversation with them and let them know why. Now, in some situations in the past, if I was not super close with the person, no, I wouldn't let them know anything. I just stopped talking to them. But for people who are a little bit more closer who have had to do that, yeah, I would typically try to let them
So
know.
again, remember the overall message that we're going with today. Talking about leaving people to the left, cutting them off. You can't cut off somebody you're not really close to. They're not going to mind your absence. You can really cut them off, right? We're talking about the people that you rock with, right? It's easy to just be passive aggressive and be like, I usually call, I don't feel like calling them. I'm just not going to call them. And then months go by and y'all realize y'all just not as close, but the brother has no reason why. Yeah, I mean, to them, I mean, let's be truthful. Again, sisters, I apologize in advance. Is passive aggressiveness a manly trait? That's something I cannot tolerate. Passive aggressive dudes don't rock. I don't rock with that. All right. So we can't just refuse to have the conversation, right? Because it's the easiest thing to do. We got to endure those difficult conversations. Why? Because it's what's fair to the guy. You can't expect somebody to change. They don't know what they expected to change, right? And it's selfish on your part because you're doing this. Well, if I hang around that person, it could affect me. But that person's still struggling. You got to be direct with them, let them know what's going on so they have a chance to change. And now y'all have a reason to fellowship because I'm trying to help you work through that issue or something like that. But to just passive aggressively just leave them to the side, that's not really a manly way to handle things. So you got to cut them off, but you got to let them know why. You can't just ghost them. That's not what we do, right? Ghosting is a whole lot easier, right? Go ahead, Aki. Mori Dawood.
Shalom. I have done exactly what you just said. I mean, if you know me and I know you, and we hanging out, and you know me pretty well, and you know what I can tolerate and what I can't, you start acting up, and you see me not dealing with you no more, you know exactly why I'm not dealing with you. I don't have to keep going over the same thing over and over again.
That's an assumption. And I would say many times they know why. Many times they don't. You guys see it because honestly, if somebody has this character defect, do people like having character defects? They may not even recognize it in themselves. So how are you going to assume that they know that's the reason why? You're going to hold them accountable for something they haven't even realized they were doing? That's a little rough, right? And again, there's exceptions to every instance, so don't be like, 100% of the time it's going to be like that because we're all different. We all got our quirks. But we do have to make it as upfront and explicit as possible for that other person's sake. It's not about us. It's easy to just like, man, I ain't just mess with that person anymore. But if we truly love them, we want them to change. Again, we're talking about people in the household of belief. We always want to be looking out for others. It's not about us. I've said it 1,000 times, right? It's easier for me to just push away, never address the issue, but that hasn't helped that brother out. All right. Yahushua Dawood, what you got?
Yeah, no, Ken, you're so right. Like, I think that's where we lack a little bit too. Like, as we ghost things. We like, we know the person's got a problem. Father Yahuwah has put us there to say something, but we get shy to say something, and we're there to help that person out. It's so important. So you're so right. Yeah. Yeah.
So all right. So our example is Yahusha, right? So we have to be willing to be like him in every single way. Mashiach loves everybody. He's patient. He's always happy and smiling. Is that true? Eventually, we got to tell some people to depart. It just is what it is, right? But just, you can take some solace in that, right? You're letting them have their prodigal period. You can let them go figure things out. They got to go through some stuff, right? Because we can't make people act right. We can encourage them. We can tell them what we did wrong. We can tell them what we think they need to change, how it's affected us, how it's affecting their loved ones. We can give them the information, but we can't actually change them, right? But that's not an excuse to turn a blind eye to their evil character. Well, he ain't gonna change no way, so I might as well just keep rocking with him. We can't do that. Can't do that. All right? They have to get it right or get left out. It just seems harsh sometimes, but that's the right thing to do. 2 Corinthians 6, 14 and 17. Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? Or what fellowship has light with darkness? What accord has Mashiach with Belial? And what portion does a believer share with an unbeliever? What agreement has the temple of Yahuwah with idols? For we are the temple of the living Elohim. As Yahuwah said, I will make my dwelling among them and walk among them, and I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. Therefore, go out from their midst and be separate from them, says Yahuwah, and touch no unclean thing, then I will welcome you. So, we're talking about a partnership, right? I love all the Akeem in the assembly, right? But there are some that I partner with, that I have a closer bond with. We spend more time together. We know each other better, right? But I fellowship with all of y'all, right? But I do want to look at 14 though, because we bring this up, right? Do not be unequally yoked. And we always want to talk about yoking a man and a woman, right? But when we talk about a yoke, it's a partnership, right? It's two beasts working together, right? That's not a romantic relationship, right? So when you're talking about being yoked with someone, it's not always a man and a woman, right? Partner in business, partner in ministry. There's different ways that Akeem yoke with each other. But remember, we can't do that. And again, everybody says, I'm a believer. But everybody don't act like a believer all the time. A lot of people say, oh, I know his name. I call on his name. But they got some character defects, and they are not truly of the belief. All right? All right. This is some closing thoughts. I told you I wouldn't be that long today. So Mark 11, 13 and 24. And seeing in the distance a fig tree in leaf, he went to see if he could find anything on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for figs. It was not the season for figs. And he said to it, may no one ever eat fruit from you again. And the tall ones heard it. 15. They came to Jerusalem, and he entered the temple and began to drive out those who sold and those who bought in the temple. And he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. And he would not allow anyone to carry anything through the temple. And he was teaching them and saying to them, is it not written, my house shall be called a house of prayer for all the nations? But you have made it a den of robbers. And the chief priests and the scribes heard it and were seeking a way to destroy him, for they feared him, because all the crowd was astonished at his teaching. And when the evening came, they went out of the city. And as they passed by in the morning, they saw the fig tree withered away to its roots. And Kepha remembered and said to him, Rabbi, look, the fig tree that you cursed has withered. Yahusha answered them, have faith in Yahuwah. Truly I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, be taken up and thrown into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says will come to pass, it will be done for him. Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. All right. So again, everybody loves weak and meek Mashiach, but we forget about him flipping those tables, right? All right. So again, I read the fig tree parable earlier, right? But then Mark tells a longer version of the story of where we see that Yahushua's experience with the money changers is in the middle of that story. So I'm pointing that out to reiterate the requirement to be like Yahushua in every single way, even when it's necessary to flip a table. All right. There comes a breaking point where wrong can't be tolerated. We're to have patience with each other as we grow and develop, but we cannot condone weak character. We can't just let it slide because it's the easy thing to do, right? But again, also notice that he explained why he did what he did. He didn't just say, oh, well, flip this table and walk off. I'm going to cut you off and never tell you why. Is it not written? He went and explained to them why he was doing what he was doing. We can't just cut people off and they never have a reason why. They never can work on those skills they need to develop. That's not how we treat each other. So when we're forced to separate ourselves from a brother, we must use it as a teachable moment, not as an abandonment. You don't just abandon people out there. That's not what we're called to do. All right. Any questions or comments? Okay. All right. I'm going to leave you with this one to meditate on this week. But be doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he's like a man who looks intently at his natural face in a mirror. For he looks at himself and goes away and at once forgets what he was like. But the one who looks into the perfect law, the law of liberty, and perseveres, being no hearer who forgets, but a doer who acts, he will be blessed in his doing. So that just sums up everything we've talked about for these last 4 weeks. It's not just enough to say, I'm a believer, I believe. But who are you? What are you doing? What's your character, right? And when that character is tested, are you going to switch up because it's an easy thing to do? If you do, that's not your character. Your character is consistent in all situations. Every time this comes up, this is how I'm going to react. That's how you develop your character, right? You can't just forget what you saw. Go ahead, Aki.
Yep, and just think about it. In any part of your character that needs to be improved, that's what you're improving. Just making sure, it's not based off of someone's opinion, but that if we're trying to get a stronger character, because as the slide earlier said, you can have in certain areas, you can have a weak character that needs some structure, that needs some teaching, that needs some guidance. And that's the design of us helping each other and learning from one another, because we can learn from that person's character, that person can learn from our character, and we can strengthen the character within each other.
Total Rabah. All right. With that, I yield. All right, so we're going to clear our hearts and get ready to pray. I'm sure Aki has found a less windy spot to pray.
Shalom, shalom. Can. All right. Toda Rabbah More, wonderful lesson. All right. Mishpachah, let's clear our hearts and minds. Present ourselves to the Father. Baruch atah Yahuwah, Eloheinu melech haolam. We thank you, Abba Yah, for the wisdom of your word and which you have imparted to each and every heart here tonight. We thank you, Abba Yah, for your instructions, for your guidance, for the structuring of our hearts and the transforming and renewing of our minds. We ask and pray, Abba Yah, that all in which was said here today, that it be a strengthening to each and every one of us, that it give us something to hold on to, something to think about, something to strive towards, to be able to correct our character in our own selves and to recognize where we fall short of your esteem. We thank you, Abba Yah, for your servant and hearing your words and bringing it forth unto your people in due season. We ask and pray that you continue to watch over and protect him, continue to increase his borders, continue to increase his understanding of your truth, continue to guard his heart, continue to prosper his household, protect those within it. We thank you, Abba Yah, for your loving kindness in which you continue to keep your hand over the Knesset. And as we depart from this place, we ask and pray for safe travel and mercies for all those who will be traveling in. We thank each and every heart that was able to join in and hear your truth here today. We ask and pray, Abba Yah, that for those who will be partaking in the meal, that you bless the hands that have prepared it, bless the households and the finances which were able to contribute to it. We ask and pray that it be a blessing and a nourishment to each soul, Abba Yah. We thank you for the provisions in which you have given us. We thank you for your loving kindness and your mercy. And as we depart from your presence, depart from this gathering, but never from your presence, we ask and pray for your Malachim to go before us in all matters. We thank you, we love you. And Barak your Kodesh name, Jehovah Sabaoth, as we ask and pray these things of you, in the blood, power, authority, and name of our risen King, your beloved Son, Yahushua HaMashiach. Hallel to you, Yahuwah. Barak the name of Yahushua. Amen. I love you all, Mishpachah. Shalom, shalom.